You're headed, God has you going down to Portland. And you go down to 272nd and you start going down, and all of a sudden, God says, keep going straight. Well, there's I-5, Lord. I-5 South right there. That's the exit. He says, no, keep going. And he takes you down, and you go down in the valley, and all of a sudden, get you on 167. You're like, well, that's the fastest way, but it's okay. But then he gets you on 18, going east. You go, Lord, you have the great blessings for me down in Portland, and why are we going kind of northeast here? Why am I going east on 90 to go down to Portland? And I don't understand this. And they definitely didn't go the fastest way and the fastest route there. I'm going to give you some reasons why God did not let them get there quickly. See, because you know what we want? We want things settled. We want to get where we're going in life. We want the problem to go away. We want to get to our next step in our life. We want to get the next thing fixed. We want to get this thing solved and done and taken care of. And God might be taking us there, but He's not taking us the right route we think we need to go on. Which our favorite route is the shortest route. And the quickest route. And the smoothest route. Then God takes you and drives you over some gravel roads. And some of the directions are the directions you would go, and God's leading is not taking you where you want to get as you want to get there. And you don't want to do that. And we see in verse 17 that God does that on purpose. God led them, not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that way was near. God didn't lead them the nearest way. He didn't do that. And I wish God would do that. I like the nearest way. I like efficiency. I like things getting done. I like things being settled. I like going to the next step. I like to get where God's shown me we're going to get to. And God had shown them, you're going to Israel. You're going to Canaan land. You're going the way the Philistines, where the Philistines are. The Philistines are in the promised land, but that's not the way you're going to go. And you're not going to do that. So God had other plans. Why not take the quick, easy route out and into the promised land? You can turn that off. And why not take the quick, easiest way? Why not do that? Well, the first reason we have here is, number one, is to destroy the old. To destroy the old. Let's go to Exodus chapter 7. We'll try to explain this to you a little bit. Exodus chapter 7. And the Lord said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god unto Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. And thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies, and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt, by great judgments. He says, you know what, I'm going to lay my hand upon Egypt. I'm going to destroy them. I need to do that. The Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, and I will stretch forth mine hand against Egypt, upon Egypt, and bring the children of Israel out from among them. And Moses did as the Lord commanded, and so did they. And so they did that. Look, God was going to destroy Egypt. You know, here's the thing. Egypt was the most powerful country in the world. Okay? And look, if Mexico is the most powerful country in the world and we ran up into Texas, does not mean we're safe now. Okay? God has got to destroy Egypt so that they're not in danger. Otherwise, forever, they are going to be worried about Egypt coming to get them. God goes, and you think about it, the Lord, he in the end, He does the Passover. He kills the firstborn of everything in Egypt. He could have done that as a first judgment, but He did the flies, and did the frogs, and did the lice, and He did the thunder, and did the fire, and did the blood, and the waters, and why did it take 10 tries? He was in a process of destroying their enemies, so they're so beat up, so they're so worn out, so they're so destroyed, that they were not a threat to them anymore. And you've got to eventually destroy the old. It took 10 tries. Egypt in the Bible is a very clear picture of the world. And it's the world in your life, and it's the world you're trying to get out of, and you're coming out of Egypt. and trying to go into the promised land, the victorious Christian life, and trying to get out of that. And we're trying to get out of our old life in the world, and we're trying to get out of that. However, it's very easy to go back. You know what God does? He kind of destroys your connection to the world. He kind of makes it, because if we're going to look back, and we talked about that, we're not worthy if we look back, He makes it so that you don't have anything to look back there. There's nowhere to go. That's why the disciples says, are you going to leave also? And I think it's the end of John 6. And they said, who have we to go to? We left our boats. We talked about Elisha burnt his plows. Okay, there's nowhere to go back to. And so he's destroying Egypt so that Egypt will not be able to destroy them later. And God's got to get the world out of us. He's got to get our own life out of us. He can't just take us into victory instantaneously. He can't just fix everything in our life instantaneously, because some of these things, if they are not mowed back over and plowed back down, and look, it's kind of like putting out a fire. You put out a fire and you throw some water on it, realize how many forest fires start by a fire somebody thought was out. But you really got to get that thing out. He had to destroy the old part of our lives, the old part of things we're hanging on to, the old things that would come and overtake us later. He's got to take some time to kind of beat it up and kind of step on it and kind of throw dirt on it again and throw some more dirt on it and pour some more water on it and just kind of get that thing and just destroy that old thing in you that's always going to come back and get you if it does not get destroyed. And so the quickest route that we think in our life to get fixed is going to leave a bunch of stuff behind that we didn't take care of. And it's going to come after us later. And so it's not the quickest route. And God didn't take us out by the quickest route. And God doesn't just fix things instantaneously. We are an instant society, but sometimes God's got to destroy some things behind us. Some enemies, some troubles, some bad habits, some things. And God's got to kind of work on and get that stuff completely out. Because a lot of times people think they have victory, but they just have got something out for a little while, but they're not over it.
Yeah.
They just got rid of it for a while, but it's coming back. It's still part of them. And God's got to destroy the old. And I'll get back to that a little bit. Number 2, because halfway is not our inheritance. Let's go to Exodus chapter 10. So God goes along and he comes and Moses goes and he goes to them and he says, look, we're going to give you a plague here if you don't let us go. And he says, you can't go. And then along the way he starts saying, okay, you can go a little bit. And in Exodus 10, but he says, you can't go all the way out. Exodus chapter 10. Remember, there's slaves. This is a wicked man and a wicked nation. There's slaves in Egypt. And in Exodus, in chapter 10, in verse 10, and he said to them, let the Lord be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones. Look to it for the evil before you. Not so. Go now, ye that are men, and serve the Lord. For that ye did desire, and they were driven out of Pharaoh's presence. He said, look, we're going to take everybody out. And he says, look, take your men out, go outside of town and worship for a while. But not the children, not your wives, not your animals, you just you men. And go worship the Lord, then come back. Look, one of the weird things about us humans is we become very content even in bad circumstances. And let's just go part way out. Let's just have a little victory. Let's just go out and worship God in the wilderness while our women and our children will be with us. And you know what happens? If the women and children are back there in Egypt, and they go outside of town and go outside of Egypt to worship God, guess what they have to do? Come back. They have an anchor back in the world. Okay? And that anchor in the back of the world is going to bring them back. It's going to mess them up. And they have to come back. And they have to go back into Egypt. And so he says, yeah, you can go ahead. Just you men only. Not the women and children. They can't go out. They stay back here. I'm making sure you're coming back. And that's part of the deal. That what they do is they say, let's make it so you have to come back. Let's make it so, yeah, you can leave for a little while, but you're not really out. You can get a little victory and feel a little better, but you're not really getting out of this mess. You're just getting a reprieve because you are still tied and your anchor is still there. That's not what the Christian has. We are more than conquerors through him that loved us. I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. We are supposed to have complete victory.
That's right.
And so the devil's trying to keep them, and Pharaoh's trying to keep them and not let them really be able to get where they really need to go. And it's not going to go quickly because it's going to take 10 tries to really get Pharaoh to say, okay, go. We can go all the way, take everything. He tries it again to not let them go all the way, verse 23. And it says, and they saw not one another, neither arose they from their place for 3 days, the darkness, plague of darkness. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. And Pharaoh called unto Moses and said, go serve the Lord, only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you, it's fine. Just keep your herds here. Well, guess what he knows? You aren't going anywhere without your animals. You're going to eat. Okay, fine. You can take your wife and kids. Go. Just go out and worship God. Just stop the plague. Go out and worship God. Just leave your flocks back here. Leave your sheep. Leave your cows. And you know what? That's fine. Go ahead and worship God. Take all your people. It's okay. Well, a little better offer, but it's still not getting out. You still got to come back. You still got to tithe there to defeat, to slavery, to misery, and you still got that tie to come back to. And so it is not our inheritance. Our inheritance is a land of milk and honey. It's taking everything out. As a matter of fact, they're not going to leave Egypt just with the shirts on their back and run out of town and hope they make it. They're going to not only leave with their families, they're not only going to leave with their animals, they're going to go in what's called spoiling the Egyptians. They're going to go to the Egyptians, and God said, I'm going to give you a favor with the Egyptians, and I want you to borrow a bunch of their stuff. You go to the Egyptians. Now, imagine this. Your slave comes and asks you to borrow his jewelry. And her jewelry. You don't borrow any woman's jewelry. But let alone, you're their slave. And God gave them favor. And they said, okay, here, take these jewelry. And they loaded up with a bunch of jewelry, gold and silver and all this stuff. Why? They're going to need to buy stuff along the way. When they leave, and the Egyptians are going to say, don't even give us back the stuff. Just go. Take everything. Go. Just leave. And they're going to leave with everything they need. And go all the way out. Because that's what Christians have a right to have, is victory and completeness, and not being stuck in mediocrity and partway out. Was not as bad as it was. I'm not as messed up as I was. But I'm going to go back. I'm going to keep going back to the world. I'm going to go back to my old failures. I have to keep going back there. That's not what God's design is. God's design is complete victory. Amen. God's design is more than conquerors. Yes, God's design is us to come all the way out of the world and inherit the land flowing with milk and honey. That is God's design for us.
Yes, sir.
But the devil always wants you to say, you know what, you come a long way. You're not as bad as some people. You got to worship the Lord there. You got to come part way out. And so God says, you know what, I can't just let you just come out all of a sudden real quickly. I've got to make you realize that you need to come completely out with everything. And not with minimal victories here. You need to have an unconditional surrender. You need to have complete destruction. You need to get out of that thing. Why settle for a little bit better when we could have the land flowing with milk and honey? Don't be comfortable in bad. I want to say this very carefully here. If you have a period of time in bad, sit on a very uncomfortable chair. Sit in a real hard chair. Don't get in a recliner. Because there's periods of your life, because of decisions, because of circumstances, you're going to struggle with life. You're going to struggle with situations. You're going to struggle with family or marriage or relationships or emotions or whatever. You're going to be in bondage for a while. Okay? They didn't get out on the first plague. They didn't get on the second plague, or the third plague, fourth plague. But you know what? Every time, let my people go. Let my people go. Let my people go. We're leaving. We're going to leave. We're getting out of here. And do not get so you get comfortable in misery and mediocrity.
Yes, sir.
You might be in for a period of time while you're getting out and while God's working the circumstances out through some struggles and hard times. And that's okay to be in that. I've been in it. You've been in it. It's okay to be in that. I'm just saying, don't get comfortable there, because some people will think that miserable is normal. And failure is acceptable. And by the way, the quickest way to do that in your life is to hang around people who are very comfortable in mediocrity and failure.
Yes, sir.
And it's really easy for you to look at them and say, well, look at that guy, man. He's serving a life sentence. I'm not as bad off as him. This guy's on meth. I'm not on meth, at least. Look, don't lower your life to expectations of people around you who are failing. Look, don't get comfortable around the situation and the people who are going to keep you in failure when there's a great life for you. When God wants to take you to the land of milk and honey, and do that. Don't be comfortable. If you have to sit there, don't build a nice recliner. Sit in an uncomfortable chair and keep in mind that you need to get out of there. You guys, on our anniversary, did any of you ever see my boots? How many saw my boots? My work boots. Okay, those work boots. Those things were torture on my feet. They were terrible. My steel toe was duct taped in. But you know what I said? I've got to get out of this job. I've got to do ministry full time. It's what I'm called to do. I've worked this job long enough. I am not going to buy a new pair of shoes. I am getting out of this place. I'm not going to buy a new pair. And I walked around, and once in a while the tape would break off, my steel toe would fall in the dock, and I'd get up down and sit down and take it back on. Why? I wanted in my mind to say, this is not permanent. Going and working on a cold dock and punching in at 10 o'clock at night and working until 6 in the morning when God has called me to pastor and do His work. I did not want to get comfortable in what I had to be in for a while, but was not my future. There was something better for me.
Yes, sir.
And I did not want to get comfortable there. And so, this is not our inheritance as Christians. And don't just stay there. You might be there for a minute. You might have to go through some plagues, and you might not know when it's going to end, but you are planning on leaving this. You're going to fix things. You're not giving up and just saying, all right, I'm just going to have a terrible what? Terrible life, terrible marriage, terrible family, terrible... No. Why? When you got a God who came to you, might have life, you might have it more abundantly.
Yes, sir.
Remember next. Because easy doesn't usually make you better. Romans 5, in a lot of the passages, but that's absolutely Romans 5. Easy doesn't usually make you better. Romans 5. And it says this, therefore being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom we have access by faith into this grace where we stand and rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. And not only so, but we glory in tribulation also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts. It says, look, this tribulation is going to give you hope, and the love of God is going to spread abroad in your heart. You're going to get patience, you're going to grow, and become stronger. Look, can I tell you this? One of the things, like if somebody comes to you and says, look, we have this great program for getting strong and losing weight. You don't do anything. You just do the easiest workout you can imagine. The only thing you do is curl your food to your mouth. I mean, it's just easy workout. And once a day, you stand up and you do one lift on your toes. And you're going to get strong. Can I tell you? Doing little, I've noticed in personal experience, does not make you strong. It makes you grow, but only in one area. And it doesn't help you. I want to tell you, easy to life, you think if I just have my life easy and everything worked out, you find out that you get strong battling through the troubles of life. And if God just lets you take the easy way, you'll find out that something else is going to conquer you when you get there. Something else is going to overcome you. Strong people are people who've been through some things and come out fighting and came out and won. It's a process. And overcoming one thing makes you stronger for the next thing. So I want to say sometimes a life of trouble and heartache leads to someone who's much stronger later.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Where all of a sudden you've been through so much and all of a sudden the devil throws it at you and you say, nothing worse than that. We'll make it. Now you have hope. Now you know you can make it. Now you've lifted a bunch of weights and you beat up the 130-pound guy, the 140-pound guy, the 150-pound guy. And so, look, the 160-pound guy comes and you're okay. But if you would have got the 180-pound guy the first thing when you were 15 years old, you'd have been knocked out. So God makes you not do everything instantly and get you stronger and stronger. Before you get the championship fight, you've already learned a bunch about boxing. And what to do in the middle of a ring when you get hit and you're dizzy, and how to clinch when you're in trouble, and all those things. And you learn how to do that through the battle. And it makes you stronger. And it does that. The next reason God doesn't bring us out instantly is because things along the way, there are things along the way that we need to learn. Way back in Exodus. In Exodus chapter 20, Exodus 19, Exodus 33, we find Moses doing something while they're not in the promised land. You know what? They're going to Mount Sinai. On Mount Sinai, they get some things. You know what they get? 10 Commandments, the law, a whole bunch of things that the nation was being based on. But that wasn't where the Philistines were. That was the Mount of God, south. Promised land, north. God says, you're going down here. I got something in this mount down here for you. Moses, you're going to meet me and talk to me face to face. I'm going to give you the commandments. I'm going to give you a bunch of messianic prophecies and a bunch of symbolism that's going to show the Messiah coming and all these things. I'm going to teach you a whole bunch of things. You're going to get to know me, and this nation will make a covenant with me, and I'll become their God in a new way, and I'll make an everlasting deal with them in many ways. You're going to get a whole bunch in all of Exodus and Leviticus. All that's coming in the wrong direction. That's coming south, not north. Not northeast, southeast. That's where it is. And we see God gives them a law. And Exodus chapter 20, verse 1, and God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And then he goes and gives them that. God expresses himself to them down there in chapter 19 and verse 5. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And these are the words which thou shalt speak to the children of Israel. And he called them, and they made a covenant with the Lord there in Exodus 19. There's things you're going to learn along the way. If I can just give a little bit of personal testimony on this, is I knew from the time before I went to Bible college that we had big things to do. I saw those things. Okay? And I went to Bible college. And I wanted to get into Bible college. You know why? Because I already spent a lot of time in the ministry and was doing a lot of ministry and back in my church and loved it and wanted to do it. And I wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to stay. I didn't like it there. I didn't like the area. I just didn't like it. I wanted to be out. I knew I was supposed to be a pastor. Someday my pastor was offering me a job back home, and God said, no, just stay through it. And I stayed in Bible college. I got married after my sophomore, or the summer of after my sophomore. Let's see, I was in 2 years and then another half year. That's why I was only in college. And then I got married, and then we had 3 kids while I was in college. And did a lot of ministry. It was very busy, but it took a long time to get to college. And then he went and started the church, and you know what? My idea in my mind was we're going to have a giant start of the church, and things are going to go, and we're going to grow, and everything's going to be awesome, and we're going to do great things, and we're going to change the world. And that's not what happened. It didn't go the route I thought it was going to go. It went slow. It was brutal. God had to teach me some things there. Now, all those things are weird things that I need to learn. Maybe I'm a slow learner. That's possible. I had to suffer some things. I had to go through some trials. I had to get stronger. I didn't know how weak I was. Now, I was strong enough to make it by God's grace, but I had to learn a bunch of things. You know, God had a bunch of things He kept on teaching me. You can't do this without me. It takes my power. Amen. God said, I get the glory. And I learned all those things. I could doctrinally teach you that. I could show you that in the Bible. But God said, no, you don't know it well enough. Let me teach you again. I said, okay, I got it. Okay, that wasn't fun. Okay, you don't got it. Let me teach you again. Okay? And I learned it again. And He taught it again. And He taught it again. He says, you think you know this. You just got the doctrine down, son. You don't really get it. You know what? Humans, they always go up and exalt themselves. And a whole bunch of people ruin their ministry because they started taking the glory. Let me show you. It's not you again. Okay, I got it. No, you don't. Do it again. You're not strong enough yet to handle something big. Let me put you through something again. Let me let you learn again. Let me let you make you so strong that when things come to you, you're just going to shrug your shoulders. Let me make you so much that you're going to come into everything saying, I can't do it. You're not even going to be embarrassed to stand in front of a crowd and say, you can't do this. It's bigger than you. You're not even worthy to be a pastor. You're not able to, you're nothing. When you get real low, then maybe I can use you. And then let me go through it again. And again. And again. I said, Lord, let's just kill Pharaoh and get out of here. But it didn't work that way with me. Now, maybe right now, we're shifting into another gear. And we have really big things I think are going to happen. Okay? And then we've already been able to do really big things. But I tell you, I know, having now that I can step back and look at a picture of my life in the last 20 years, I know now I'm only doing the things that I get to do now, which are really great, because of the suffering and lessons I learned back there. God had to make it so He can throw something on me and trust me. But I had to go through some things. I've seen some of the, one of the strange things, some of the best marriages I've ever seen had some real troubles at the start. And they learned. And they understood the sacredness and the privilege of marriage. And they didn't have the relationship they wanted for so many years that when they got it, they really appreciated it and took care of it and realized how easily it's lost. And they are careful because they understand, they learn some lessons along the path, go in the wrong direction. And that's what happens.
Yes, sir.
That's what happens. Why didn't God take them right out? He had to destroy them. Remember, in the end, He had to get Pharaoh to get mad and chase them and cross the Red Sea. He's so mad that he would chase him. Look, it takes a lot of courage or anger to chase somebody across walls of water that they just went across. But God had to make him and make it so that He could destroy the rest of the army. And He really had to do that. Because halfway is not an inheritance. Because easily doesn't usually make you better. It's because you'll learn things along the way. And last and most importantly is to make it so you will not go back. Chapter 13 of Exodus. This is where we really started at Exodus 13. All I can say is the things I've been through have been for my good, as Romans 8:28 said. And have been help me and prepare me and to work in my life. And it made me better. Hardships make you bitter or better. But you think you just get me here. Get me fixed. God says, no, if I do that, you're not really fixed. It's going to be worse. I put something in your engine that'll make your engine keep running, but while it's running, it's going to fall into pieces. We need to stop for a minute and take some parts out and rebuild a couple things in there. Because yes, we can put some goo inside your engine that'll make it run and get you to the end of this road and get you back home and you'll feel better. You just want to get home, but understand it's going to destroy your engine. Your engine is not fixed, and tomorrow you will not be able to go to work either. The car will be destroyed. So let me go and let's just stop for a minute. I broke you down in front of a park store for a reason. Fix it. Let's get this fixed. No, I just want to go home. I'm tired. It's a long day. No. You can make your car limp home, but it's going to damage it. And you're going to go through the same thing tomorrow. But let's not do that. Let's get you fixed. And so many times I watch God pushing people to patience and to suffering and trials along the path. He's getting them to the promised land. That's where God is going to take them. But they just want to get there so fast. They run up there and they try to go outside of God's will to get it done quickly. When God said, no, I'm not letting you get it because it's not time yet. You're going to ruin that thing. I want to get married. And God said, no, if you get married right now, you're going to blow it up because you don't know what you're doing. I need to teach you some patience because you're marrying a woman and they need patience. And I need to prepare you and get you ready for what you're going to deal with. And you know what? You're going to have some problems in your life, and you're going to have a child with some sickness, or you're going to have some problems. And you know what? If I can prepare you, you'll be able to handle all those things. You run this thing right now you aren't ready. So, give me a minute. Let me do some plates here and break this thing down. To make it so we will not go back. Chapter 13 and verse 17. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent, when they see war and return to Egypt. What is God saying? The Philistines are warlike people. They had walls, they had giants, they were ready for battle. And if these people were just starting out, they were just slaves. Slaves understand something about slaves. When you're a slave, you are under somebody's control. It's very hard for you to step out of your comfort zone, to go be brave, to go fight against people, not feeling like you're inferior. You've been beaten down for so long, and they're going to go in there, and they're going to go. If they go straight up there, the Philistines are going to attack them. They're going to go, no, we were safer in Egypt, and they'll run back to Egypt. It says you're not ready to face those enemies yet. So I'm not going to take you up there right away. Let me go down and show you what I can do. Let me give you some experiences. That 200 miles is awfully tempting, but you would run back and go to Egypt and begin slavery again, and it would be much worse for you. A little time wandering south and going to a mountain and some months of seeing what I can do and seeing my miracles and increasing your faith and learning to follow and be strong and to overcome things and to make it and to work without somebody ordering you when to get up and when to do what to do, everything. You have got to get broken in some things and get stronger before you face them. So I'm not going to send you there yet. You're not ready to face those enemies. Aren't you glad that God knows when you're not ready to face certain enemies? We're cocky, arrogant creatures. Bring it on! Your DVD broke and you were crying. And you want to face some spiritual giant. Let God prepare you for your enemies. Let God take you there at the right time. To make sure we will not go back. First of all, we may not be ready for that war. We may not be ready for that war. As soon as you see war, you're going to want to go back. You're going to want to go. You'd rather be in slavery than die. If you face those enemies now, that's what you're going to say. You're running back. And it's a short trip that way. It was a short trip there. Guess what? Raise some logic here. It's just a short back. Did you guys who came to church understand that? Easy out. First of all, we may not be ready for the battle. Next, easy out, easy back in. Easy out, easy back in. When you scratch and clawed to get your life in order, when you had to work to make this thing in your life, this trouble work, when you had to battle to get to where you are, you know what? When you got a big mountain to climb and you get halfway up that mountain and you stop, take a breather, you don't want to go sliding back down that mountain. And when you go and get to the top of a mountain, you understand the work it took to get there. And you say, man, this took me so much money and so much training and so much time. I know I'm only a little bit from the top. I'm going to finish because it costs a lot. And you get to the top of the mountain, out of your pit, and now you look around and say, you know what? I don't want to go back there. That was hard to get out of that. And when you fight and battle and struggle and do not go the easy way, when you get delivered from whatever it is, your addiction, your anger, your troubles internally, whatever your problem is, your sin, your old life, and you get out of it, and it's a struggle and a battle, you don't lightly go back into it. But if you got out easy, and I've seen it. I've seen people, I have seen it. I can name them people who God gave a miraculous deliverance, and thank God God did that, and that's wonderful. I mean, they got saved, boom. They were delivered. I've seen that many times. Unfortunately, those people oftentimes go back because they figure it's going to be that easy again if they get into it again. You have somebody go out and get themselves a massive debt, and all of a sudden mommy comes out and says, poor Johnny, here, let me pay all your bills for you. This is what Johnny's going to start doing again. Why? Because he knows it's going to be easy to get out of it. Some of you who have good sense and make good decisions in life say, man, when I do dumb things, I really pay for it. And so you don't do dumb things as much. Good! Because, look, it's true for me. I had to scratch and claw and fight to get out of the world and get, and by God's grace and God's strength and praying and helping and counseling and 1,000 things and getting a victory and look, I don't know how hard it's going to be. I don't want to start that stuff again. I don't want to roll down the hill and climb back up it again. It's hard enough to get up there. This church, we don't want to go back to where we were. We don't want to make any mistakes. We don't want to ruin where God's taken us. It's been hard to get where the church is. Your life, if it's going better, it was hard to get there. Your finances, your relationships, you made some progress. If God goes poof to you and just lets you go, hey, run. Just run northeast. You'll be in the promised land. And all of a sudden, battles are there. Fights are there. Enemies are there. They start getting whooped. What do? Run back south and go, you know what? We'll go back to Egypt for a while, but you know what? When we're ready, we'll run back up there. It's only 200 miles. But you think Egypt's going to let you go again? You think God's going to give you 10 plagues again for them? You think Pharaoh's not just going to go ahead and kill Moses this time? No, don't. But yeah, so it's such a, and we did it. We did it in 4 days. It was easy, guys. Let's go back to Egypt. We'll pretend like we're slaves. We'll do what they say and just get our breath back. And you know what? We'll run back up there in a couple years. God says, let me not take you that way. Let me let you go ahead and go the other way and get you ready. So when you go in, you're going to go with Joshua, and you're going to go and you're going to inherit that land. And you're going to get that land. And you're going to stick with it because you'll be more ready for it then. Next, so we can see him working and have faith. Another reason he doesn't take us right in, Exodus 13 and verse 17. It says this, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go that God took them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and return to Egypt. But God led the people about through the way the wilderness of the Red Sea. And the children of Israel went up, harnessed with their armor, out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph and all that stuff. And verse 20, they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud and led them by the way by night in the pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. And he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night from before the people. You know what they're going to do? They're going to go to the Red Sea and say, no, what do we do? And God would say, let me show you how I'm going to take care of you. They were going to get a reputation by the people they're going to have to go fight. That you know what? You'd be very afraid because God helps these people. And that made their battle much easier. They saw God leading them. They saw manna rain down from heaven. It was all to make them, they would have more faith. They would know God can help them. And look, anybody can run. Anybody can travel 200 miles on a road and get there eventually. But that doesn't mean He's prepared you for anything. And so if you'll let patience have her perfect work, the Bible says, then God will prepare you for the next thing you're going to have to face. And when you get there, because you let God prepare you, boom, you're there and you can handle it. If you jump in front of God, what happens is you keep meeting enemies you were not prepared to face because you did not go through the process of God's preparation, and you get whooped every time. And you did not let patience have a perfect work. Why does it say that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing? You're complete. You got it. You can handle this. And you go in, and I want to say this, there comes a point in your life where God has shown what He can do and how He can give you strength, and you can make it, and you go into the next phase of your life, the next step, and you say, I can do this. Through Christ, who strengthens me. I'm going to make it. Instead of constantly being, no, I can't do this. Why me? It's so hard. I can't handle this, God. Why'd you put this in my life? It's too big for me. God says, I didn't want you to face that thing yet. It is too big for you right now. You're right. I had a different route for you, but you just thought, I need to get there. Get there. God says, no, you need to go through some things first. You need to grow, strengthen, and do that. One more verse and I'll finish. 1 Peter 5:10. 1 Peter 5:10. I'll finish there. I'm just saying there's a great life for you, but it's in the will of God, and it's not always the fastest route, and we want to get there quick. That God has a plan for you to get victory completely. Not have you face the champ who's 30-0, in your first fight, face him. No. Go box the guy who's 8-20 first. Just learn how to box. Don't face the champion yet. You're not ready for it. 1 Peter 5 and verse 10. But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. In other words, God says, if I'm not taking the fastest way, but I'm taking a good way. You're going to learn some things along the way. You're going to prepare you. You got the great life, the victory, you got the promised land. It's awesome. You got some enemies there, but I'm going to prepare you for them. Just take your time and let me lead you, and realize that all of this is going to make it so you really appreciate the promised land and are ready for it. And you can handle it. Why doesn't God take us a quick and fast way? He's got his reasons. Lord, we're out of Egypt. Let's go. Wait a minute. We're heading, look, let's heading southeast. Moses, hey, Moses, buddy. Promised land up there. But look, the pillar's going that way. Maybe the pillar is getting blown by the wind. It's kind of confused or something here. Because the promised land's up there. It's not that far away. Let's just go there. God says, I'm not going to lead you by show way. I'm leading you south for a while. I'll meet you down there. Just follow the pillar. We'll meet you at Mount Sinai. I'm going to give you some things there. And I'm going to prepare you. We got to finish off the Egyptians. We got to cross the Red Sea to finish off the rest of them. The soldiers. So I got a plan. Just don't jump ahead of me. Don't run up there. You'll get whooped.